Welcome to Take Two Radio. I'm Pam, your host, and I'm here with my ever-curious co-host, Anthony. How are you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing pretty well. It's hot down here in Miami, but I'm not complaining.
I can imagine. Yeah. Well, we just went through the rain. As you know, yesterday I lost power because of how bad it was, 80-mile-per-hour winds and all that good stuff. But today seems to be a better day, even though it rained in the morning.
Well, we get to
So
virtually spend a little bit of time in California, so that's always going to be fun.
exactly. And we're going to get to that right now. There are actors whose careers follow a straight line, and then there are those who keep finding new roads to travel. Our guest today has spent more than 4 decades taking audiences on that journey, from the vineyards of Falcon Crest to the open highways of Renegade to an ever-growing list of independent film and television products that continue to showcase his versatility and passion for the craft. When we last spoke with him, it was 2013, and today, 13 years later, we're excited to reconnect, look back at extraordinary career, explore where the journey has taken him since then, and discover what's still waiting around the next bend. Please welcome back to Take Two Radio, Lorenzo Lamas.
Good morning.
Good morning and welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We're
I'm
so
sitting
happy
out.
to have you back.
I'm happy to be back too. I mean, 13 years, a lot has transpired, both professionally and personally, over the last decade, and I'm excited to talk to you about it.
Oh,
As are
absolutely.
we.
Yes, yes. There's no standing still, no matter how much you try at times. The years just keep going, no matter what, you know? That's it. We're in it.
And it
So,
seems like even if he wants to, his family's going to keep pushing. But we'll
right?
get to that a little later on, too.
Well, life presents opportunities. So for me personally, opportunities that present challenges are the most attractive to me.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Now, if someone had told you back 13 years ago what the next chapter of your career would look like, what do you think would have surprised you the most?
Uh, the career change that transpired about 13 or 12 years ago. It was it was an opportunity that was based in a general need for supporting my three young girls at the time. I had full custody of my three youngest daughters, and struggling really because the different action shows that I'd done the previous decade. I was somewhat stereotyped in this action genre, and with the beginning of reality television like the Kardashians and Housewives and so forth, that genre of action television that I was so successful and grateful for kind of dried up, and the industry as a whole kind of shunned those types of television shows like Highlander, Baywatch, Renegade, and the networks, because I had been out of that circle since Falcon Crest. Really wasn't entertaining anything in terms of how Lorenzo Lamas would fit back, on a network show or an A-list movie, a studio movie. So I was forced to kind of look in my toolbox and see what was in there that I could provide for my family with. And I found all these certificates in different categories of aircraft that I had really done as a hobby back in the day. And it was out of a necessity that I kind of entertained the idea of aviation and doing that to make. And that's where that path took me. That opportunity was presented to me, out of need and necessity.
I have to say, my dream was always to fly. I had 67 hours in when I lost my sight, and I can imagine, turning that into something that you can do and make money and provide is amazing. But let's go back to Falcon Crest. I mean, it isn't the first time that folks saw you on screen, but it is definitely the role that brought you to prominent attention. And Lance, wow, Lance was one of those characters who could be vulnerable, vicious, manipulative, loving, all in one episode. And, you stuck around till the very end. How did you keep, playing Lance fresh and, for yourself, how did you keep that from becoming, stagnant?
A relationship with the writers helps. In the beginning, Lance was very one-dimensional. He was basically a Doberman
Yeah,
for Angela Channing's nefarious wishes.
machinations. Yeah.
Yeah. So after season 3, I found my voice as an actor. In the beginning of the series, the first few seasons, I was stumbling to keep up just with my skill set. And thankfully, I worked with some incredible disciplined actors. Jane Wyman probably being the most influential in my acting ascension and the way I approached the craft. I mean, I had been a fairly busy actor. I'd done 3 television pilots, a number of guest starring roles. I had a couple of movies under my belt, but as far as the discipline that it takes to be a regular character on a television series, day in, day out, 6 months out of the year, was daunting. And I leaned on Jane a lot for the development of my craft. And once I had the confidence to step into the writer's room and talk to them about some possible directions for the character, I had that confidence, that came with 3 seasons and being on time and offering a character that had held his own weight. I mean, the writers kind of warmed up to me a little bit because I'd shown them a little bit more of the acting craft, and even the smallest scene. I'd walk in and check the mail in the foyer, and I made something out of it, and they appreciated that, so they listened to me, and eventually, some audience in terms of how I'd like to see the character develop. And I mentioned that to them. I said, Lance has been this one-dimensional guy. Can we throw him a storyline or a couple of episodes where we see a warmer side to him? And they were able to do that. First with Chow Li. Chow Li had just kind of been set dressing, for the first 2-3 seasons. And then they wrote scenes with me and Chow Li where we did a martial arts kata, and we developed a friendship on the show. And then they added in other textures. They would put a fight scene in, that normally really wouldn't have been more than, a minute or two. And they allowed me the grace to, choreograph some pretty good fights. One in particular I had with John Saxon, who played my father. They came back to Falcon Crest to see, what kind of things he could make happen for himself through Abby's character, through Abby Dalton's character, who he was married to. So I was eventually able to get the respect of the writers to grow that character a little bit, so that by the end of the run, I was fairly significant, in terms of character plots.
I'm so glad that the writers opened their doors for you and,
Me
let you
too.
give your
Me,
input.
Yeah.
me too, because it can be somewhat frustrating,
Yeah.
over the long term to not have different personality traits to show.
It
So yeah,
certainly
Exactly.
served the audience because we were able to invest in a full dimension and flushed out
Right.
human being, rather than a tool for machinations.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would imagine that's why some people will leave a series because they don't have a voice and they get frustrated and feel like they're stagnant and they're just like, okay, time to move on. And that's sad because a lot of times it's our favorite character or one of our favorite characters, and we have to lose them that
Sure.
way.
It's
So,
it's true. It's true. But thankfully, the writing staff and the producers, um, I mean, they were happy with what I was doing, and that ensured in a sense that I was able to stay on for the 9
yes,
seasons.
yes, and we're very grateful for that. Now, you recently you shared a wonderful tribute to Jane Wyman on your Instagram. And fans, of course, knew her as Angela Channing, but you knew her as a colleague and a friend and even family member. What's something about Jane that you think would surprise the fans who admired her for so many years?
She played poker with the crew almost every day during lunch.
Oh,
Wow.
She had a great respect for the craftsmen. Uh, you know, the people that hung the lights and laid the cable out and made the food, and she just had a tremendous respect, and that's something that I really admired from her, having had done everything, including winning an Academy Award. She wasn't that diva. She didn't have that attitude. She was a granted, a legend, an icon, but she never believed her own press. She always felt that she was just one part of an ensemble, and respected every single person on that set, and that really impressed me.
was
Wow.
she good at poker though? Did she win most of the
Well,
time?
I didn't play. I didn't play with
Yeah.
her, but my best guess is that she was pretty wily in the way she played. Um, and they it wasn't for money or anything. She used to sit there at the poker table with a box of Nilla vanilla wafers, and that
Oh,
was her meal. She'd
I
smoke
love it.
she'd smoke Vantage cigarettes, and she'd eat Nilla vanilla wafers, and that was
Oh,
always by her chair on a little apple box. She always had her snack and her box of Vantage cigarettes, and fascinating. Just, I mean, she was an incredible uh, person to observe after having done as much as she did, in the industry. And she was a confidant. You know, we basically formed a very tight bond early on in the show because my dad had performed on her Jane Wyman Hour, which was a live television show back in the mid to late 50s. And they knew each other and were fond of each other. And so when I came on the set, she already kind of knew Dad, and was almost like family. She was very supportive in those early seasons when I was struggling with a way to present Lance as a character that had some gravitas. And I remember one particular day where, I don't know, we had a 2-page scene, and I was delivering a lot of expository dialogue. Expository dialogue, meaning the scene helped move the plot, and I was making too much of it. And after take 4, she took me aside. She says, Lorenzo, she says, you don't have to make so much out of the line. Just a simple direction like that, and it really changed my whole approach to acting, because the writers have done the work for the most part. I mean, and we had good writers. So just stand there and say the words on the page and simplify it. And that was probably the best advice I'd ever gotten from anybody.
So let's turn to Renegade for a few minutes. I'm sure that it felt like a gamble for you to move into the action genre, and I'm sure it felt like a gamble for the producers and such because at the time that genre of television was finding its plateau. So, the series was not just an action series. It was about justice and helping people find justice when they couldn't find it for themselves. Why do you think that resonated so strongly with the audience? And did you realize the cult following it was getting, in the early days?
Well, no, I don't think anybody can tell you with a straight face that they know a show is going to be a hit. I mean, it's always a gamble. Stephen Cannell gambled on me to carry the show, and I'd never done that before. But he gambled on me because I think he thought that I could bring. Well, number one, I had a fairly significant foreign following in terms of raising money because I had done all those independent movies that did very well overseas. The Snake Eaters and the Bounty Trackers and the Final Impact and all those B action movies that I did very well in foreign markets. So I think he knew he could raise the money with me as the lead, but it was still a gamble for him because Stephen Cannell was a very prolific writer. He wrote very
Yeah.
complicated characters. Remember, he did Wise Guy, uh, with Ken Wall and Ray Sharkey. I mean, he wrote for actors, but I think he felt confident. I had been in his office enough times reading for other parts of other series that he was producing. I didn't get any of the other. I never auditioned for Stephen. Well, I did audition for him several times, but I never won the role through an audition. But I think there was something that he knew about me as an actor that gave him the confidence to go to the foreign markets to raise the money to get the show greenlit. But I think the appeal of the character is a universal appeal in general, is that we all have a sense of fairness and we all know what a bully is. And in every show which was self-contained, there was the introduction of the individual corporation that's trying to get away with something over the common person. And that's a theme that resonates. I mean, you think about Rocky, the movie, it's an age-old theme that people keep coming back to when there's injustice in the world.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of
Yeah.
injustice in the world. And there always has been, and there probably always will be. And I think that character resonated because people were ready for another modern day Western where you meet the bad guy in the prologue, and then there's a whole hour of how the bad guy is getting away with murder. And then at the end, justice is served. And that's why the show is still popular today, because there aren't that many shows where you have a very clean delineation between the hero and the villain. There's a lot of shows now where the hero has parts of a villain in them, and the villain can have parts of compassion. And I don't know, there's something about a black and white storyline that people are still attracted to.
Yeah, Anthony and I are huge soap opera fans and have, our podcasts and stuff about it that we talk about what goes on. And the one thing I like about series television is that we get a payoff usually in that same episode versus a soap opera. We've been waiting over a year now for one of these storylines to close
Yeah.
and for a good guy to get justice,
Yeah.
So that's what I love about series, is that we get payoff right away on pretty much every episode. If not, there'll be, a two-parter, but that's the most it's going to go. So yeah, I love that. I love the seeing people get justice. I watch those types of videos and TV shows and stuff like that still to this day. So if they ever brought Renegade back, we'd be right there for it.
Yeah, I mean it was such a fun show to be a part of. It really was. Everybody on that show, from Stephen Cannell down all the way down the line to the crew, we were just having a ball, just loving doing the show in San Diego, and we knew we were doing something, if not special, certainly unique, in terms of
Right.
what we were delivering, to our audience.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people out there that may not know that wasn't your first rodeo on a motorcycle. You actually belong to a club called Boozefighters.
Well, no,
Um,
I don't belong to the Boozefighters.
oh, you don't?
I'm a friend of the club through Robert Patrick,
Oh, okay. Okay.
and I'm I guess what you could say is the term that the club uh, environment uses is hang around. So
Hmm.
I'm enjoying the camaraderie and the riding with these guys and their wives and girlfriends. It's just something. I've always been kind of a lone wolf, I guess you could
Hmm.
say. I mean, I've ridden with different groups of guys, but not an organization, so to speak. So that's been a lot
But
of
you
fun.
guys, they're not running around trying to stop people from drinking. So,
No, no. Now,
they do good things.
yeah, I mean, basically, in a nutshell, the motorcycle community raises millions of dollars
Hmm.
Hmm.
uh, every year for different charities. I mean, it's probably one of the most generous groups of people that there are. Uh, the 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 motorcycle community. Um, but yeah, no, the Boozefighters is not because everybody drinks. I'm sober, and we're not a criminal organization. So we enjoy the camaraderie and the lifestyle of just hitting the road on two wheels and experiencing that kind of freedom, uh, with nature.
So, from the road to the friendly or not so friendly skies, does flying fulfill a different need? Is an extension of what you were already experiencing with bikes? And does it fill something in you that acting and producing and the film world and the motorcycle world doesn't?
I'll tell you what I liked about flying. When you're climbing into an aircraft, you're communicating with the air traffic control or control tower as as an aircraft. You're not Lorenzo Lamas or Harrison Ford or Tom Cruise. Controllers, they don't care who you are. They only care about where you are and what your intentions are in the aircraft. So I love that anonymity of being in an aircraft, whether it's taking people on a tour up and down the Hudson River in New York, or down to the Grand Canyon in Las Vegas, or to Catalina out here in California, the island of Catalina Island. I was I was I was just a pilot, and after having a life of being recognized, it was nice to kind of disappear and just be, you know, a number of an aircraft. Does that make sense?
It
Yeah.
does. It's a great way, without having to put the fake mustache on or the ball cap and the big sunglasses, to disappear into something and just be the guy and just
Right.
be, performing something, a task or,
Right.
an
Just
incredible
a
flight. Yeah.
just a pilot.
As a passenger, we
You know,
would prefer the guy that knows what he's doing behind those controls and not just an actor pretending. So
100%. And I never mentioned who I was as the pilot in command. When I was flying the the public ever. I mean, once in a while I'd get recognized, but it and I didn't deny it.
mhm.
But again, I just, like you said, I wanted everybody just to feel comfortable. I didn't want anybody thinking that this was just a hobby, of mine, that I'm flying these people just because I like to fly helicopters. I
Right.
just,
Or that you were auditioning for a role in this
right, or
movie.
doing
It's
research.
not Lance getting his kicks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh my gosh. Well, moving on from there, we have to talk about your independent films. You've become a huge part of them with films like A Christmas Persuasion. You have a couple films on Tubi, which was President Down and Checkmate. And it's been an incredibly active chapter for you for your career. What is it about independent filmmaking and these projects that continue to excite you?
Honestly, it's the work. I'll be quite honest. It's the work, and whether it's an independent movie or a studio movie, I just love acting. It's my first love. I only left it because the phone's ringing, but coming back to it in 2023, I retired from helicopters, and I thought, if I don't go back now to acting, I might never have the opportunity again. So,
Yeah.
and here we are, whatever it is, almost 2 years later, and I've been very fortunate. I have relationships with people that are decades long, and when they heard I wasn't flying full time anymore and my schedule opened up, um, they reached out, and it's been wonderful to work with some people that I had done independent movies for 10, 15, 20 years ago. I'm glad you mentioned Christmas Persuasion because I think it's coming out soon. I'm not sure what platform. I was told maybe Lifetime or even Hallmark, um, but I'm not sure. And I shot that about a year ago with for a production company that I'd done two other independent movies for. So that's exciting.
Well, you'll have to keep us up on that. But then again, we're both huge fans of Hallmark and Lifetime movies, and we watch all the Christmas movies. And you also had a Hallmark movie, Love in the Clouds, with Gail O'Grady and Paul Green and Mackenzie Westmore, that people need to watch if they haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, that was fun. I played a hot air balloon pilot, retired,
Mhm.
gives his business over to his son. Business is struggling because of the economy. And there's a love story, obviously, because it's Hallmark with Paul Green and Mackenzie. And it's just a delightful experience. We shot it all on location in Albuquerque, where they have the biggest hot air balloon festival in the world. So it was great fun. And Gail O'Grady is just a delight. Done a number of different movies with her. Um, she's always fun to work with. Just hard worker, very down to earth, just a great person.
Well, in addition to all of that, you also have booked some events, Comic-Con in Orlando and some stuff in the UK. After all these years, what is it still a thrill to meet the fans? What can they expect when they meet you? And maybe you can share one outrageous story from fan events along the way.
Well, I'll tell you the most attractive thing about doing the is is the people that come up to my table and share with me personal experiences about how I was able to distract them from a family loss or a bout with depression or and mostly that, how especially Grease, that movie has reached so many people through generations that everybody has it. Everybody that comes to my table that wants an autograph, who is a Grease fan, will usually share a story about how the movie had affected them in some way, in a positive way. And I just love hearing those stories. And then somebody will come up with a photo or a poster or an article of merchandise that I've never seen before. And that's always a kick. To see what's out there, because I don't go on eBay and check to see what Lorenzo Lamas memorabilia is available. I just don't do it. But some people do, and they'll bring that to the show and they'll have me sign it, or sometimes they'll give it to me. And these are the moments that really connect you with the fan. And I really enjoy that because I've always appreciated, the people that have watched my shows. I remember when I was on Renegade, I was fairly popular, and I go to restaurants and I take my kids and we go to an amusement park, and people would recognize us and want to take a photo or have me sign whatever they had in their purse or on their person, sometimes on their person, literally. And I always took the time. I grew up with two famous parents who always made time for their fans. And so I grew up with that as a kid, and I carried that on, you know?
Well, I
And
was
that
going to
it,
surprise you with a bonus question at the very end about Grease. That was relatively early on in your career, and it was such an iconic, when you think about there's three projects that, stay with people their entire lives. Anything stand out that the fans would love to hear about the Grease experience?
Um, well, I'll tell you, Paramount didn't have much faith in the movie. I think Alan Carr had shopped that script around for a good while before he basically, you know, got John attached. And when John got attached to it, uh, the movie started to have some momentum, and then Paramount stepped up. But I think people would be surprised to hear that there was no grand affair in terms of the excitement at the studio. I think they started to get excited about it when we had a premiere at the Mann's Chinese Theater, and they had to rope off Hollywood Boulevard.
Wow.
Right. Uh,
They said the same thing about Happy Days too. And
yeah.
yeah.
So, but working on the show, I was an afterthought in terms of that character Tom. The role had been given to Stephen Ford primarily. I mean, at first, and then I stepped in when things didn't work out with uh, with Stephen. But uh, I always felt going to the set that I had just won the lottery. I'd only been in the business in total about 2 years at that time. So even though the character itself didn't have much in terms of dialogue, he was integral to the story in terms of Olivia Newton-John's character, in terms of Sandy and
Yeah.
and Danny. So being the young actor that I was all ears. I just watched people work. I watched everything. I watched John, Olivia. I was on the set when I wasn't even in the scene, just to absorb, this great opportunity.
oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how much I love Grease, and my kids grew up on it. I would put the DVD in it for them, and they knew all the songs, and they were little. They were just little babies, like maybe, 5, 6 years old and stuff like that. And they would sit there and just play it over and over and over. Of course, I didn't mind too much because I like singing the songs with them, but you made an impact on another generation that you probably didn't even realize at that time.
Well, I'll tell you how excited I was, and how I pinched myself every day, that I was there. I'd gone to a boarding school in New Jersey for high school, and my best friend David and I would listen after evening mess, just after study hall, before taps. everybody played records. And David and I played Olivia Newton-John's record. And we over and over, we both had a tremendous crush on Olivia in high school. So
Who didn't?
I call David, right? I called David one day and I said, you'll never guess where I am right now.
Oh
He
my
said, well,
gosh.
he said, where are you? He goes, where are you? I said, I'm on the set of Grease, the movie. We're shooting it right now. He goes, you're lying. I go, no. And guess what? My character has scenes with Olivia. He goes, get out of here. You're lying. And I go, oh, you think I'm lying? Why don't you jump on a plane and come and hang out with me for a week or so? And he did. He flew out to Los Angeles. We stayed together in my apartment. I drove him to the set. I got pictures of him with Olivia, and he was just like me, a couple of kids in a candy store. He's going like, I can't believe this. I can't believe this. And I did the same thing when I got Falcon Crest, because David, when I got Falcon Crest, David was working for Conagen, which is a big industrial company. They had bases out here in San Francisco. So he moved to Marin County. And when I was shooting Falcon Crest, Marin was just about an hour and a half from Napa. And he came out a couple of times on that show too. And to this day, we laugh about it. And he has pictures of me back when I was 20, 21 in the first house that I bought up in Laurel Canyon. And I've been posting on Instagram a couple of those
I
photos
was going
from
to
the old
say, I
days.
saw those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So David took those photos. And we're still very close. I'm close to him and his wife, Cheryl, and their son, Ian, who went to Merchant Marine and then got an engineering degree. And now he's in, he's in the Navy. He's or the Merchant Marine. He's as an engineer. So it's funny, how life kind of progresses, and you get these great memories. And we're all,
Absolutely.
what keeps us young, I think, is making new memories. I read that somewhere where, people start feeling old when they stay home and don't take trips and don't, get outside and do stuff. So that's the whole thing with me and flying and motorcycles, is it's just a way to keep making memories and keep staying young.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to do something. Otherwise, you're just going to lay there and do nothing. And then before you know it, it's over.
It's over. It's
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't have a choice. I love that story so much, what you did for your friend, and please thank him for his service for us.
I will. I certainly will.
I
Please.
really appreciate it. Now, you spent your career helping bring other people's stories to life. Is there a story from your own journey that you'd like to be told? And if that happened, would you want to tell it as an actor behind the camera or wear both hats?
I think there is a story about survival and never giving up on yourself. It might be a better book than anything filmed, because you see a movie or a television show once and then it's over, but a book you can go back to.
Yeah, but don't forget, a lot of these movies start out as books. So there you go.
Well, there you go. Okay. Well, maybe it would start out as a book about survival, not just necessarily in the motion picture and television industry, but as a man going through middle age who gets challenged with, basically he's at a dead end road, and where does he go from there, and what propels him to seek the uncharted waters of the rest of his life. It's kind of a spiritual journey, but it's also a practical one, where you got to figure things out. I had 3 young mouths to feed when I decided to go fly. And sometimes the things in your past will resurface in order to give you a new path to take.
Mhm.
This is so true. And I think you should do it because you could be helping a lot of people out there that might be stuck in that rut and not know what to do.
Well, that would be the point.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm a big fan of the second and even the third acts in life. Well, you mentioned your parents before, and they left an indelible mark on the entertainment industry, and now so have you. And, that family cycle seems to be continuing. What do you carry forward as the legacy? And is there anything you want the world to know about your parents?
Well, yes, I do. My parents were tremendously talented. Um, Both of them made their indelible mark in entertainment. Um, but
And by all
underneath,
accounts, really, really giving and wonderful people as well.
yeah, and what I was going to say is that they were wonderful parents, and the amount of time that I was able to be with them, which wasn't typical of a normal family. I had to share my parents with the world,
Yeah.
but it's about it really is about the time spent. Um, you can complain about the time that you don't have, but if you make the most of the time that you do have with the person in your life, it kind of makes up for the lack of it. And it was always that way, especially with dad, because mom and dad divorced when I was just a toddler, and I would get sent to my dad in the summer for a month or 6 weeks. But he always made the most of it. He always cut a part out of his life to spend with me during
Mhm.
those summers, and I got a tremendous amount of influence. You know, it's not the time; it's the quality.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And honestly, thank you for the stories and the raw honesty of today's conversation. I can't believe, I wasn't around with Pam 13 years ago, and I hope it's not another 13 years before you come back with something exciting to promote or just to share some more stories. But in the meantime, is there anything you want to direct folks to and drop your socials as well?
Oh, sure. On Twitter, I'm Lorenzo_Lamas. Oh no, that's Instagram. And on Twitter, I'm just at Lorenzo Lamas. I have a blue check Facebook page that anybody can join and hang out in. Um, and just I want to just take a moment to send my appreciation to everybody out there that's ever watched a show that I've been in, that's ever come up to me at a table for an autograph. You mean the world to me. And I wouldn't be here on this show if it wasn't for the people out there that watch and are interested in the things that I've done and the things that I will do. So I want to say thank you to everybody, all the folks out there.
Do you happen to have the date for Comic Con for folks in Orlando who may want to make a pilgrimage?
Yeah, I've
And
got it.
Monopoly events in UK too. Don't forget that one.
Orlando is Friday, August 28th through the 30th, and I'll be in Telford in the UK on Friday, September 4th and Saturday, September 5th. Those are my two closest opportunities to meet the folks.
Awesome. You know,
Awesome.
I was going to just say thank you for joining us and so forth, but I have one last question that just popped in my head that I'm curious about. When you go to these Comic Cons here in the United States, what character do you get most recognized as? And then for the UK, is it something different or is it the same?
I'll just say it's the same because
It's
of
the
the
same.
shows that I've done. They've all been internationally distributed.
Mhm.
I'd say the most popular character it's got to be it's even between Lance and Reno. I'll tell you something surprising. When people come to the table and see pictures of me as Tom in Greece, 25% of the time people didn't know it was me. They knew the
It's
character,
something clicks and it's like, oh my God, I never realized the guy on the
Yeah,
bike was the
yeah,
guy kissing Sandy. Yeah, I can see that.
yeah. They
Well,
and
wasn't your hair blonde in Greece?
it was blonde, and I was a 19-year-old kid, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And so by the time I got Falcon Crest, that was well, I wasn't that. I guess I got Falcon Crest in '81, and I did Grease in '78. So that's not a long time, but I looked completely different,
Yeah.
completely different. And then with Renegade, of course, with the long hair,
Hmm.
completely different. But I get a kick out of it. I see the look on their faces. Like, what? Wait, what? you know. And then their kids will come up to the table and they'll point out my character that I played on Phineas and Ferb. I played a little alien called Meep, and they
Oh my
won't
God,
know
that's
anything
right.
else. They won't know anything else but that little character I played on that show. So there's something for everybody.
Oh my gosh, I so love these stories. Thank you so much, so
Yes,
very much for joining us. We had a fantastic time talking with you, and we welcome you back anytime.
Thank you.
absolutely. I'm gonna try to jump on the Bright Line and come down for a day. I have a cousin in Orlando, and maybe we can actually get a couple pictures for the website. But
Please,
we shall
please
see.
do.
And please come back when you have some more stories you want to share or a new project.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you both.
All right, Pam, another great interview in the can. And if you stay tuned, you will hear all the ways that you can access this show, share it around, and of course, leave some feedback and comments. It always helps the algorithms. Again, thank you so much. And we will be back in your podcast feeds with another interview very, very soon.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Take care. Thanks for joining me, Anthony. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Take Two Radio. That's with the number 2. For Take Two Radio The Remix, follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Take Two Radio The Remix, again with the number 2. For all things Anthony and Sunday Edition, go to anthonycorona.com, and that's CORONA. Until next time, thanks for listening.